at the height of the First World War, as Kaiser Wilhelm whipped Germany into a frenzy of hatred towards the English people. A young artist named Helmut Herzfeld anglicized his name. John Heartfield would go on to be the most important political artist of the 20th century. Along with painter George Grosz, he pioneered the art of photomontage. John Heartfield made posters and book covers, like this one for Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, but his most important work from the 1930s were the 240 montages he made for the Workers' Illustrated Newspaper, or AIZ. Later renamed the People's Illustrated, or VI, it was a leftist publication that had close to 500,000 readers. It took aim at the problems endemic to the German political situation, starting with the Weimar Republic and then focusing on the rise of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party. In 1933, after the Nazis had come to power, John Heartfield escaped arrest by jumping from his Berlin balcony and hiding until he fled to Czechoslovakia. He was number 5 on the Gestapo's most wanted list. In 1938, when the Germans were about to occupy Czechoslovakia, he escaped to England. As an artist, he operated more like a film director than a painter. He was in charge of a team of photographers, retouchers, writers, and archivists. His brother, the poet Wieland Herzfeld, was an important collaborator. John Heartfield's main role was to envision the image, usually starting with a pencil sketch, and arrange the selected photographs into the montage. When text was added, the results were often thematically dazzling. Here you see Heartfield's original art along with the published image of A Dangerous Hot Pot, German Puzzle Picture, 1934. This reads, "You all ought to eat from one pot," which refers to the Nazi demand for shared one-pot meals designed to make limited foodstuffs go further. But this says, and you have to flip the image to read it, "because we want to press you all under one pot." The pot is now a helmet, which has clearly been shot through or stabbed. The AIZ covers were complex and deeply rooted in specific current events, some of which are little remembered today. Heartfield provoked many emotions: horror, pity, courage, and rage. His mission was to reveal the truth behind the incessant lies and propaganda of the Nazis. He often deployed humor, ridicule, and bitter irony. Now let's take a look at some specific examples. When the Nazis attempted to fool the world during the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, Heartfield was having none of it. "Come and see Germany. Olympic guests, forward march." And here is his program of the Olympic Games, Berlin 1936. Axe swinging, head rolling, spear throwing, tug of war, fencing, riding the promissory note, body bending. Final grand artillery fireworks. Heartfield was not afraid to make fun of Hitler and his demands for slavish submission. Two doctors look at an X-ray. Diagnosis: how did the man get this curvature of the spine? That is the organic result of the endless Heil Hitler. Here's the meaning of the Hitler salute. Little man asks for big gifts. Motto: millions stand behind me. Let's look at how Heartfield treated the Nazis' official symbol. In this unforgettable image, Heartfield fashions a swastika out of axes dripping with blood. He quotes Bismarck and says, "The old motto in the new Reich, blood and iron." A leftist, John Heartfield, creates a swastika out of gold coins and claims, "In this sign shall ye be betrayed and sold." A swastika as a torture device has the caption, "As in the Middle Ages, so in the Third Reich." Here he shows how Nazi rule has not improved the economy. After 3 years in the grip, basic food shortage, rising unemployment, lack of currency and raw materials. This is what the Free Austria symbol looked like. Heartfield showed how the Germans altered it upon annexation. The bug as vermin exterminator. I'll get my house clear of vermin yet. This is an allegory about the stripping of citizenship from 33 prominent German opposition figures. These next two show the depths of depravity that the swastika would come to represent. Here is the murderer's cross, the seeds of death. Where this sower walks through the country, he reaps hunger, war, and fire. To enable their barbarity, the Nazis tried to corrupt religion. The Christian cross is turned into a swastika. It says, "On the foundation of the German state church, the cross was not yet heavy enough." In Save Edgar Andre, the German fighter for peace, an opponent of the regime is symbolically crucified on this new swastika cross. Adolf Hitler created a German state church and handpicked a Reich Bishop. Here, the Reich Bishop addresses Christendom. "Hey, the man over there, the cross a bit more to the right." AIZ would offer ironic Christmas greetings. This says, "O joyful, O blessed, miracle-bringing time." And of course, even Christmas trees had to be sufficiently Germanically pure. This says, "O Christmas tree in German soil, how bent are thy branches." By decree of Reich Food Minister Daré, as of Christmas 1934, propagation of the Christian fir tree, an alien intruder, is forbidden on German soil. In future, only the brown, standard fir tree cultivated in Valhalla will be allowed. And this one says, "And peace on earth." It depicts a little boy in a gas mask looking at his toy soldiers under the Christmas tree. Even more important than controlling the church was to corrupt the rule of law. Heartfield had supreme contempt for Germany's judges. They judged the people as long as the people do not judge them. At the arsonist trial in Leipzig, they twist and turn and call themselves German judges. Once the rule of law was undermined, anything could happen. In the Night of the Long Knives, Hitler could kill his old friends. Loyalty for loyalty, greetings from the Führer, Ernst Röhm, is shown being executed with Krupp guns. The mothers of German soldiers could be arrested for mourning their sons. What is her offense? She is wearing black because her son fell in the war against Spain. Adding insult to murder, Gestapo letters to German wives. Repeatedly, the wives of innocent men shot by the Gestapo have received the ashes of the murdered person in a parcel or letter. Here the leaders of the Third Reich, helped by a judge, try to bury the truth of a man condemned falsely who was then beheaded. It says, "Damn, the deeper we bury him, the more the truth comes to light." The guy at the top right is Hitler, and the guy with the jackhammer is his number 2, Hermann Göring. Let's take a look at how Heartfield portrayed some of the top Nazis. From right to left is Hitler, Göring, and the Nazi head of propaganda, Joseph Goebbels. As a rat chews away at their tightrope, we see the 3 magi from the land of sorrow. And they imagine this will continue for 25,000 years. Here Goebbels announces the infamous Nazi book burning of 1933. And here Goebbels, who himself was somewhat deformed, is shown railing against the Russians. Little Clubfoot's wishful thinking, away with these degenerate subhumans. This top Nazi published The Stormtrooper, a virulently anti-Semitic newspaper. Hitler's best friend, the violator of Germany. The Stormtrooper is the only newspaper Adolf Hitler reads from A to Z. Julius Streicher. Heartfield and AIZ give a flavor for what that newspaper was like. 2 animals in the Berlin Zoo discuss a Stormtrooper article. Herr Streicher writes that the Jews are animals, so will they soon be locked up in the zoo? No, they are to be placed on church spires. That's much cleverer. Why is that? The Jews are the best lightning conductors. When it came to the top 2 Nazi leaders, Heartfield sometimes used horror and sometimes ridicule. Here's a bit of wishful thinking from 1934. AIZ wishes you a happy journey into the new year. Hitler claimed that he was an instrument in God's hands. Heartfield counters that he is a puppet in billionaire Fritz Tyson's hands. Here Heartfield illustrates a fairy tale and has Hitler say, "Help, help, I'm surrounded." Adolf the Superman swallows gold and spouts rubbish. Notice his wings and sword hidden by a feather. The caption is, "With his empty phrases, he wants to gas the world. The man who swore on the German Constitution speaks now of peace. He will uphold it as he has his oath." In the war, Heartfield adds Hitler to a painting by Hitler's favorite painter, Franz von Stuck. Here's Hermann Göring, the executioner of the Third Reich. In The Gallows Salute is a poem predicting, quote, "A court will one day from the highest gibbet hang this gangster." In fact, Göring died by suicide in 1946, just before he was about to be hung after the Nuremberg trials. Heartfield explored the guns versus butter issue. Whether money should be spent on feeding the German people or rearming the military. Hurrah! The butter is finished. Göring had declaimed, "Iron ore has always made an empire strong. Butter and lard have at most made a people fat." In Hunger is the Best Cook, Heartfield quotes the notoriously obese Göring. "That man has fed himself unpatriotically. He's only lost 7 pounds so far. I myself have not been eating butter for a long time and have lost about 20 pounds. At a dead end. Making guns from butter, that worked. But now I'd like to know, how do you change guns back into butter? And the Nazis did not hide their anti-Semitism. Heartfield imagines Goebbels' recipe against the food shortage in Germany. What? Your meals are lacking lard and butter? You can eat your Jews. The Nazi Party name has the word socialist in it. But was it the impoverished working class that the Nazis actually looked out for? German socialism. The champagne is tax-free. How about the unemployed? This one states, job creation. Of the 7 million unemployed, 2 million are building prisons for the other 5 million who cannot find a job. Hitler came to see the German people as a resource to be used. The role of a German woman? Forced supplier of human material. Take courage. The state needs unemployed workers and soldiers. And of course, children needed to be raised correctly. In this one, German Acorns, 1933, Hitler lovingly tends the seeds of an apocalyptic future. Brown first graders. Multiplication can also be taught with hobnails. For mathematics, the nicest practicable applications are found at shooting practice. This reads, even 3-year-old children, when they play at war, must be solemnly taught the proper handling of the gun and the saber, and the feeling that war is pleasant, and it needs to be instilled that we must love war. And although war was clearly Hitler's intention, he lied about it constantly. This says, Hitler tells fairy tales. The Third Reich is a pacifist Reich. Her soldiers aren't really soldiers. They are angels of Hitler's eternal peace. Only their wings are camouflaged. The peaceful fish of prey. I abhor collective security. I invite the little fishes to conclude individual bilateral pacts with me. The fox says to the porcupine, trust me, pull in the quills. I would never have bitten you. You disturb the peace needlessly. I feel downright threatened. I only wanted to kiss you. Hitler and Italy's fascist leader Mussolini appear with their army of doves. But Heartfield and AIZ were not fooled. Here they present Hitler's Dove of Peace. This special issue, Hitler Drives Toward War, says, Fascism, his final savior. War, his final resort. World War II was preceded by Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia and the Spanish Civil War, in which the Germans helped install Franco as dictator. To a dying Italian soldier, fallen, for what? I want to provide my people with a place in the sun, Mussolini. And here is death to the octopus of war. Only when we have destroyed him will the sun always shine. What did the Nazi war machine offer? This says, that is the salvation they bring. In the journal Archive for Biology and Race Research, Berlin, is an article entitled The Gain of Aerial Bombing, Seen from the Standpoint of Racial Selection and Social Hygiene. The Academy was also corrupted after Professor Carl Schmitt advanced the following legal thesis. The term man is to be rejected. It distorts and falsifies the differences between Reich citizen, foreigner, Jew, and so on. Heartfield countered with the teaching of the wolf. The term animal is to be rejected. It distorts and falsifies the differences between sheep, chicken, goose, donkey, etc. In short, those creatures who are only there to be eaten by me. Demonstrably false lies were part of the Nazi playbook. In Though This Be Madness, Yet There Is Method in It, they insist that they must invade Czechoslovakia because there are Soviet airfields there, which of course was a lie. So hatred of the other, endless lying, violence, and threats of violence were the keys to Hitler's rise to power. But that all happened such a long time ago. What does it have to do with us? Boston College professor Heather Cox Richardson writes a newsletter called Letters from an American. She wrote, historians are fond of saying that the past doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. To understand the present, we have to understand how we got here. And she clearly sees echoes of the past in our present tumultuous times. In a piece from October 6th, she wrote, the U.S. Office of Strategic Services had picked up on Hitler's manipulation of his followers when it described Hitler's psychological profile. It said his primary rules were never allow the public to cool off, never admit a fault or wrong, never concede that there may be some good in your enemy, never leave room for alternatives, never accept blame, concentrate on one enemy at a time and blame him for everything that goes wrong. People will believe a big lie sooner than a little one. And if you repeat it frequently enough, people will sooner or later believe it. I ask you, does this sound familiar? Donald Trump's barrage of inflammatory lies, his blaming everything on others, and calling all those who won't submit to his will the enemy within, claiming that only he and he alone can fix our problems, demonizing immigrants and calling them vermin out to poison the blood of America, and repeating his big lie that the 2020 election was stolen until 70% of Republicans believed it, despite there being no evidence to back it up. Trump is not Hitler. but there is a lot of rhyming going on. We see the same cultivation of the super wealthy, the big lies, the vile language, and the call to mob violence. As the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, put it, Trump is fascist to the core and the most dangerous person to this country. I'll end this movie with a warning from John Heartfield. Here he described those who think that giving power to a criminal sociopath is a safe bet. Of course, we will break out the teeth of the tiger, but first of all, we must nurse him back to health and feed him. John Heartfield did not stop Hitler, but he showed to those willing to open their eyes what Hitler was. In my book, that makes John Heartfield a great artist and a great man.